This is the Jeff Crilley Show on Talk Radio 1190.
Welcome back to the Jeff Crilley Show. We're going to talk about pain management on a cellular level with a guy who is making some cutting-edge breakthroughs in medicine. Dr. Amit Mirchandani. Did I get that right, Dr. Mirch?
Very close.
Okay.
That's great. Thank you.
Okay, welcome to the Jeff Crilley Show. So, you are the founder of Texas Cell Institute. Is that right?
That's correct.
Okay, tell us about Texas Cell Institute.
Very good. Yeah, I have a background in anesthesia and pain management, and coming out of training, I knew we had a lot of deficits in how we treated pain in this country. We would typically be treating patients with lots of steroids, lots of narcotics, lots of surgery, and I knew we had a gap to fill. And so we created Texas Cell Institute with the foundation that we would try to pursue non-narcotic-based, non-surgical-based treatments to help patients regenerate areas of injury.
Okay, let's dive a little deeper there. What
Sure.
What does that mean exactly?
So right now, if you would look at the traditional treatment protocols, if somebody would have had an orthopedic or musculoskeletal injury, say a tendon tear, okay, they typically would go to a doctor, get treated possibly with anti-inflammatories. If they didn't work, they would be treated with more potent medications. If that didn't work, they would be treated with steroids. And if that didn't work, they'd be on to surgery. There are some problems with that protocol, not to mention the amount of side effects that each of these medicines can actually cause patients. So all the way down to what we think are conservative treatments like nonsteroidals, ibuprofen, and over-the-counter anti-inflammatories that can often cause long-term side effects, stomach ulcers, bleeding, kidney, liver failure, things like that, that we are starting to see as a community in America more and more often at later stages of life. And right now we have in this country a huge opioid epidemic.
Yes.
That is really the undercurrent of what's destroying our country in many ways. And so to me, it was really important to start a practice with a foundation of diverging from a traditional sense of pain management.
Well, just to put an exclamation point on that opioid epidemic, we represent a drug and alcohol rehabilitation center in Houston,
Mm-hmm.
and I was getting them on the news in Houston. I called up the founders and I said, "What percentage of the people who are residents of your facility, what percentage is battling opioid addiction?" And they said 90%.
Wow.
And that shocked me.
Yep.
I mean, I thought maybe alcohol, but no. So why is America so addicted to pain pills?
So there's many layers to that question, very many layers. I think that there is a misunderstanding of what we know about pain management in general. Right now, we have patients being sort of taken through a protocol that we're doing the best we can. We take them to doctors who have just been trained in this fashion. We don't really invest in the health of a patient overall. So part of it is the pressure that's being put on doctors to treat pain. We make it a fifth vital sign and say, you know what? Patients must be treated and must be treated only with opioids in mind, so that they go leaving satisfied. But the problem with that is we don't then next see the side effect profile of what can happen to the patient thereafter.
For the folks that are watching this on YouTube, we should
Sorry for the distraction. My kid just came and sat in my lap.
Not only are you a great anesthesiologist, but you're a great dad. You brought a couple of young ones in. Who do we have in your lap?
This is my oldest boy, Arav.
And then we have a little one over here.
Yep, he's our firecracker, Krish.
Okay. Well, let's continue talking about it. So I'm sure that you could have made a nice living just continuing to do what you did, but to you're an entrepreneur to open up your own business, a cell institute. That's taking a chance. I mean, they don't teach you how to run a business in medical school. Why did you do this?
Wow, that is an awesome question. I get chills when you ask me that question because it was a decision that I had to make. I was in cruise control. I did have a great practice doing anesthesia. I did have great training in pain management, and so I felt a duty towards that. That's one. And the second thing is I knew that we had a big gap to fill here. And I didn't realize at the time what kind of pioneering that it would actually go through, but it's been an amazing journey. The relationships that I've formed to build a team around this concept, around a non-narcotic, non-surgical based pain management system, a PhD by the name of Dr. Marius Menkes up in Frisco, and we've collectively developed protocols, developed a lab where we're able to process cells at a high level, count those cells, make sure they're pure for patients to have. The relations I've made between doctors who also are looking for pain management techniques for their patients that help them avoid the operating room table, to help them avoid opiates. As we know, there's so many things that come about. I had no idea at the time that I would be taking on all of these different things, but I guess the entrepreneur actually developed with me along this way. I didn't know a lot of these things. You have a little seed inside that you're an entrepreneur, that you want to solve some problem of the world, but you don't exactly know the execution of that. And I think that the execution comes when you take actually the very, very, very first step, and you take some decisive action and say, I'm going to do it, and this is where I put my skin in the game. And it just kind of has evolved from there. It's been an incredible journey. I wouldn't say that all of it has been straight line, but we're doing some good work now.
But I admire you, and I think you're setting a fine example for your kids, because I think a lot of people just kind of drift through life. They reach a plateau, and they're like, hey, it's comfortable, and everything's predictable, but you're making a difference. Tell us a success story. When you think about your patients, is there one that stands out in your mind as, this is why I did this?
Sure. First of all, appreciate the compliment about being there for the kids. And I'll tell you, it's a team effort. My wife actually is a huge teammate of mine when it comes to my entrepreneur nature, and holds down the fort with the kids and allows me to be the best version of myself, like Mr. Ziegler said in the last session. Some of the success stories that come into play are the fuel that keep me going. One that always comes to mind is a teenage girl who is a high school athlete in Austin. Through connection of such, she heard of us, and she came from Austin to come visit our institute, to come see me. Her only goal was to be able to run track again. She injured herself early on in her career, and just wasn't able to get back on the track, on the track field. And she said to me, if I could just run one more race, I would be extremely happy, and it would fulfill my high school career. She had already undergone surgery at that point, and she was willing to try things that would help restore her functionality and her athletic promise. And so I told her what the options were. I did tell her what we were going to commit to as a team. We were going to commit to an anti-inflammatory protocol. We were going to make sure we made all the dietary changes. We were going to make sure that she takes care of herself on a global level. We're going to make sure that any stresses that we could take care of, we would do that. And we make sure how school is going, how our friends are going. All of those things actually contribute to systemic inflammatory responses, right? But we don't really spend the time with patients to talk about those things, because those things don't require prescriptions. They don't show up on the scorecard, so to say.
Right.
But she looked at me with that goal in mind, and I said, I'll take you on as a patient. We'll get you there if we can. She went through 3 rounds of platelet-rich plasma around her knee and into her joint. And the coolest video I've ever seen was her mom sending me a video of her back on the track.
Wow.
And that was really cool. I've had patients pay for other patients because they had such good relief, and some other patients who couldn't afford it, they've helped them out. That's been very, very rewarding. You don't see that in the healthcare consumer market that much. And so it's opened my eyes to the human aspect of medicine again in many ways. So.
Well, I think your attention to what is the root of the problem, because ultimately pain pills are just masking a pain,
right,
a signal from the body, and to figure out why is the body doing that? Why is it? I think about all the celebrities we've lost because of some kind of pain pill addiction. Prince most recently, and he was on some crazy drugs, wasn't he?
Right. Yeah. I mean, we only get to hear in the media about the celebrities. But I'll tell you, across the United States, we have had really, really big problems with opiates. Just to give you a kind of a juxtaposed context, we'll lose more people due to opioid addiction in the last 10 years, and then of the last 10 years than we have with HIV since the epidemic started.
Wow.
Okay. And it's the numbers show that things are going to actually get worse before they get better. And we need just people, and we need the community to sort of take a stance on it. And I think that starts with the physician.
So tell us what it's like to work with you. If somebody goes to the website, that's TexasCellInstitute.com, they make an appointment, they come in to talk to you?
Yeah, they'll come and they'll make an appointment. They get 1 hour with me on that first appointment. And I think during that time, what I encourage patients to do is write down every single question in a notebook that they have about their injury, about potential options. Because what happens in a high-paced medical environment is that patients often forget, or they get pushed at a certain speed. Doctors have lots of patients to see. With this practice, I've made it such that we are a low-volume practice. So I want patients to have an organized approach. So we do take time. We go through different layers. We go through a 10,000-foot view, and then we kind of hone in right down to the cellular aspect of why they're injured. Then we go over treatment options, and then we see if they have any more questions after that before we move forward with the next steps.
Wow. You've been an amazing guest. We definitely have to have you and your family back. Thanks again. And the website again is TexasCellInstitute.com.